Can you guess what I'm a big fan of? Butt sex. Sorry, I meant to say werewolves. You know them, you love them. They are our lycanthropic friends and colleagues, our sports stars, and occasionally a weird fetish I do not tell people about, and yet they are underrepresented within our culture, unfairly marginalized for simple misunderstandings, like eating our grandmothers or nodding Red Riding Hood, and that injustice cannot continue. We're playing Altered Beast. Showing up in arcades way back in June of 1988, Altered Beast may look simplistic and outdated, because it is, and I am not going to defend it. The game felt like that on arrival. However, similar to that one uncle we never talk about, we still love it for the nostalgic memories, while trying to forget what really happened in his band that day. You see, for many older gamers, this would have been their first game, due to it being an early pack-in title with the Sega Genesis, when it simultaneously released across that, as well as the Master System later that same year in November. For you younger viewers, back in the long ago, game consoles would actually come with packed-in games, unlike in modern times where consoles come with paid subscriptions and credit card debt. The irony here being that it was always cartridge-based systems that did this, with cheaper CD-based consoles moving on to demo discs, landing on current-gen consoles that could very easily give you a free download of the game to go with your new $700 purchase, but instead choose to just give you the finger. This feels short-sighted, especially with the knowledge that both Mario and Sonic were pack-in titles that undoubtedly increased the value of their respective consoles, and still have massive fan bases till this day. Yes, occasionally you got a Bonk or a Sewer Shark, which did not live up to those expectations, but they still live on, in our memories. Altered Beast lands somewhere in the middle, neither blowing up nor burning out. It just slowly faded over time, attempting a few sequels that just never landed. It also brought very little to the table in terms of breaking the mold, or pushing system limitations. Mario may seem antiquated now, but the player movement and smooth scrolling were mind-blowing additions at the time, something home PCs could not handle. And then you had Sonic speeding his way through levels thanks to Sega's patented blast processing, which is just a fancy way of saying it had a shit ton of RAM for the time, even more than the SNES, which had superior hardware in every category other than that. But then we look at Altered Beast, and it's just a game. It's a fun game that I still enjoy, obviously, but it is mediocrity sandwiched in between two legendary classics and a pile of trash. It's also incredibly short, so short you could probably beat the entire game before this video ends if you started right now, which is why I'm rambling a bit off topic. Let's be honest, there's not much to say about the game itself. You want me to talk about the box art? It's a nice box. I'd fuck it. Rise from the Grave, it's level 1, the wolf stage. This random dead old guy's daughter has been kidnapped or whatever, so we've been brought back from the dead to beat up the nerd that's taken her. We do this by slowly walking to the right, using the D-pad, while the face buttons are for punching and kicking enemies, and occasionally jumping so that we may punch and kick even more enemies. Along the way you will come across special blue-colored wolves that you can punch or kick in order to gain a power-up orb, which also allows your player to undergo some muscle growth TF, while also increasing their ability to punch and kick even more monsters, allowing you to collect even more orbs so that you can go full buff furry mode, and this has to be a fetish for at least one person watching. Boss time. You see this guy? Your goal is to hit him a lot while not getting hit yourself. This thing came out nearly 40 years ago, so we can't expect all that much depth in terms of technical gameplay. However, you can cheese the bosses a little if you get to know the timing of the special moves, but outside of speedrunning, I don't really see much of a point. Victory, and because this bald bastard is a sore loser, he steals our woofle powers before running off like a bitch, and so we pursue, avoiding any altercations with the police for the multiple assaults we've just committed.
And in the end, I was not charged with any crime. That is not just my word, that is a matter of public record.
Level 2, the cool level. Or at least that's what my friends told me the first time we played this at their home. We were a Nintendo household at the time, which is the reason I'm usually much more interested in Sega games on this channel. although Nintendo did get its own port of this game 2 years after it debuted. Internet rumor is that Sega purposely handed it off to a third-party publisher to make sure this version wasn't good, but it's actually a fun and interesting alternative with its own unique transformations and gameplay mechanics. Power up once more, and this time we go Bad Dragon, giving us the ability to fly. It's kinda neat. Again, it's a 40-year-old game. If I said hot single 40-year-old MILF, everyone would be on board with giving her a chance, so let's extend that same courtesy to this game. Where I will not be courteous is with this boss fight, cheesing him with the special move cause it's just the way I was taught. Zordon shows back up, but instead of letting me pilot the Megazord, he jacks my shit, and so we pursue him to the next stage, where it would seem more trouble is brewing. Stage 3, where we get Karate Bear, and yes, I did use this video as an excuse to draw buff Monster Girl adopts. Funny thing is, I've actually been thinking of switching styles up, mostly in coloring for animation lately, and then I saw this monstrosity, Altered Beast for the Game Boy Advanced, and it is so ungodly ugly I am quite literally rethinking my own artistic choices throughout life. And whatever style you would call these claymation plastic hot dog people, whatever the hell they are, I want to do the opposite of that. And back at the cave, and it is indeed a cave, and I am kicking things, as is my primary function. This game is not meant to challenge you strategically, but I would suggest using the standing kick almost non-stop in order to deal with enemies running at you from off-screen. Another boss fight, and once more we serve up some cheese, although I took my first full block of damage here, ruining that epic no-damage self-suck speedrun challenge. Whatever shall I do? And we are on to level 4. 5. 4? I don't fucking care. Can you guess the goal of this level? Correct, we are going to slowly walk right while kicking and punching things. So, PlayStation 2, great system. It also got an Altered Beast reboot that never left Japan. And honestly, this looks kind of amazing, not gonna lie. Usually people hate to hear the term dark gritty remake, but in this case it works, changing the transformations into violently painful body horror that would feel perfect in Parasite Eve, which is the greatest game ever created, and if you don't agree, that's okay, you're allowed to be wrong, and you will find the exit to your left. The funnier comparison is in the gameplay, mostly focusing on the wolf form, in an almost God of War-like combat system, which feels very reminiscent to what Sega would do with Sonic Unleashed only a few years later. And while all of this is completely headcanon, I cannot help but assume that the separate teams were sharing notes. I'm also 90% positive that this mall is supposed to be a nod to Silent Hill 3, which released 2 years prior, so now I'm double plus sure we're gonna cover it at some point. But first I have to finish this run, and so we go Tiger Mode in order to defeat the boss with more punching and kicking. And I kinda hate this guy. When playing fair, you have to sit back, timing out your little Tiger Ball attack, while using the special to take out these mini dragons it spits at you. It takes forever, and I really should have just cheesed it. And with that, the love child of Gargamel and Mr. Clean returns, grabbing us by the balls and yanking us into the final level. And we are indeed walking towards the right once more, a tiny bit repetitive. But that's also on theme, with the transformation in this stage once more being the wolf, but with a slight palette swap. For sake of not being repetitive myself, I'm not going to mention another sequel this time, also because there aren't any more. So anyway, Bloody Roar. Trust me, I'm a little high right now, but I'm going somewhere with this. Let's pretend for a moment that you're a huge fan of werewolves in concept, but all of this action-packed walking to the right action just isn't enough to pique your interest. Well, my friend, Bloody Roar might be the game for you, and I'm not just saying this so I can sneak in a bunch of footage I never used. Bloody Roar is essentially the Altered Beast fighting game, and with its tight yet simple gameplay, you can really feel the power of these creatures. But great as this series is, it's been over 20 years since the last game, and Konami got the rights when it purchased Hudson Soft, and could probably care less about the franchise. You know who does care about their classic games? Sega. And the smartest thing they could do with Altered Beast in current year would be to straight up just make their own bloody roar and call it Altered Beast, and then just sit back and cash in from both fan bases. And now we face off against the ultimate life form, man and animal fused into one perfect being, a manimal if you will, and it's basically Rocksteady from Ninja Turtles. The final boss can easily be cheesed like all the rest. However, I went a slower and much more painful route, air dashing back and forth to sneak hits in order to avoid losing that last health point. Not because of any particular extra challenge, but because the game wants you to do that by design. Long story short, like many older arcade games, Altered Beast has a rollover to level 1 with a difficulty increase every time you finish the final level, and this rollover can increase roughly 13 times, where it flattens out, but in theory you could keep playing forever. I'm not going to, but any one of you out there is more than welcome to try. The day is saved, and even better, we won ourselves a girlfriend, hooray for us! And let's just ignore the implications of her being forced into an arranged marriage with a corpse, because these two have plans to run off and do some gross shit I'd probably put in a comic. Insert obvious doggy style joke here. That was Beasto de Altered, a classic game that obviously shows its age, but I still kind of adore it like a crippled puppy. And I forgot you could beat up the credits. My bad. I also forgot how short they are, so we are going to skip the monologue this time around. Thank you to everyone who watched, and to everyone who got adopts this week. More random spoopy games are coming, and I will catch you in the next one.